Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 10, National Football League recap of the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Tennessee to take care of a little AFC South family business. What happens in the family stays in the family. So if you're the Titans, this is simple. Don't be the first one. Don't be the first one. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got to get one. And I've said this numerous times. It's going to be somebody that you know very well. Who do you know better? Who do you know better than family? It's probably going to be at home, which you're not at home in this game. But again, it's family business. Throw home, away, out of the window. You know these guys. They know you. There's no secrets. Try to get it done. If you're Jacksonville, try to get off the schneid. The more these losses begin to pile up and continue to pile up, the harder it is and the harder you're going to find it later on in the season to get a win. Get one and get it out of the way now. So if you're Tennessee, don't be the first one. Quick backstory and then we'll get to breaking down this football game. I do a survivor pool. My first annual in the lab room soul survivor pool. I had 15 participants. It was a great success for me. And it was funny because there were two people left in the survivor pool in week number 10, going into week 10, and both of them selected Tennessee to get it done, to get them to week number 11. And I said, look, stop picking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I've said this a number of times. They're going to beat somebody in their division. Now, I think it's going to be at home. But remember last year when they were a hopeless team, and the Texans were far and away the best team in that division for a while until Indy started to sneak up at the end. They went to Houston last year and played their best game of the season. Even though they lost, they played their best game of the season with Chad Henne at quarterback. So they can go on the road in the division and get it done. And I told them, as I sent out the email, look, don't keep picking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. At some point, they're going to jump up and bite somebody. And it's going to be inside of the division. And I said that on the Wednesday edition of In the Lab Room. I said, look, this isn't a good pick for your Soul Survivor pick because the Jaguars at some point are going to get off the schneid, and it's going to be against a team in their division, somebody that they know very intimately. It's going to be a family member. Well, let's see if that family member, in fact, was the Tennessee Titans. So you go 0-8, Jacksonville Jaguars looking to get their first win of the season versus the 4-4 Tennessee Titans. I told them that it was important that they go on the road last week at St. Louis, find a way to win, find a way to get back to 500. So that was a huge win. You can't come back home the next week against the lowly 0-8 Jacksonville Jaguars and essentially give back all of the goodwill you did a week ago by getting back to 500. No way. You got to go out and I don't know if you're looking up at the scoreboard or not, but we'll discuss this a little bit later. But the St. Louis Rams are handing you an early Christmas gift. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, though. Let's get into the game. Chris Johnson fumbles on the first play from scrimmage. Jags, 3 plays later, find themselves in the end zone as MJD gets in on a 6-yard touchdown run, 7-0 Jacksonville. And if you're Tennessee, that's exactly what you don't want to do. That's exactly how you don't want to start the game. If you're Jacksonville, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the football game than that. That's exactly how you draw it up. Maybe the only thing that could have been better was an opening kickoff fumble that you scoop and score with. But other than that, you can't ask for it to be any other way because, honestly, I'd much rather, from a psyche standpoint. Now, look, if I'm a player, if I'm a fan, I want my team to scoop and score on the defensive side of football and not even put it in the hands of the offense to have to get the touchdown. But from a psyche standpoint, you can't get it any better than forcing a turnover, which defensively gives you confidence that you can get it done, and then having your offense go out on the field and get the ball into the end zone. That's confidence on both sides of the football, offense and defense, all on one possession. You can't ask for it much better than that. And so what the Titans essentially and effectively have done on this first possession is they've given hope to a team that was hopeless coming into this football game. You've given the Jacksonville Jaguars a reason to believe. And if you're the Titans, you needed to take their heart from the beginning of this game, march down the field, 84 yards on an 11-play, 6-minute and 47-second drive that culminates in a touchdown that really sees you grab them by the throats early in this football game. I mean, really take control of this game early. And then after that touchdown, force a 3-and-out or force a turnover, go back down the field and get more points, and really let the Jacksonville Jaguars know this is not going to be the day that you find your first victory of this season. Instead, you turn it over on the first play from scrimmage. They get it. They go down the field 3 plays later. They're in the end zone. They're up 7-0. They feel like they should win this football game. And you're a family member, so they feel like they got a shot coming into the game anyway. So that just makes it that much worse. Mercedes Lewis moving like a Benz, bulldozing through defenders, coupled with a couple of missed opportunities. Look, you had some opportunities to get him down on this play. You did not. It ends up being a huge play for Mercedes Lewis in this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. But to make matters worse, you've got a missed opportunity to challenge a Cecil Shorts the third catch, in which I don't think he was inbounds. The replay was showed multiple times. Didn't look like he got both feet in. And so that needed to be challenged. And Mike Munchak did not. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars come away with a field goal. It's now 10-0. And again, in a game when you ultimately lose by just 2 points, a field goal that might not have happened if you challenge this play looms large in the grand scheme of things when you look at the overall body of work that was produced at the end of this football game. So that's a huge play. And again, that's why coaches get paid the big bucks to make decisions. It's the first half. Use that challenge. You don't know if it's going to yield you a huge play or not. But again, it's too close to let it go by. And again, the Jacksonville Jaguars don't score a lot of points. They need all the help they can get. You have to challenge this play and make sure that he caught this football. And Mike Munchak did not. It's 10-0 Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, they're building confidence. They feel like they belong in this game. Locker with a head-scratching decision to throw into quadruple coverage. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Jacksonville Jaguar defenders in the same vicinity of where he was throwing this football. That's what quadruple means, people. Picked off by Dwayne Gratz, the rookie out of UConn. I've been waiting for him to do something of note. And here it is. His first pick leads to a Josh Scobie field goal. It's 13-0. Look, I said this when he got hurt. I said the bad part about Jake Locker going down, it was 2 reasons, 2 main reasons. And there could be many more if you're a Tennessee Titans fan that you have when he went down. But for me, the 2 biggest underlying issues when he went down with that injury was, 1, you were playing such great football. You weren't turning the ball over. You were on a 3-game winning streak. The chemistry of this team was going to be tampered with him out of the lineup. That was number 1. Number 2, and this was from a Jake Locker perspective, the man was playing the best football by far of his career. It wasn't even close. This man was playing lights-out football. He was making smart decisions. He was making great throws. If it wasn't there, he was tucking in and running. He wasn't forcing an issue. He wasn't turning it over. He was playing like a guy that was drafted in the top 10 of an NFL draft. That's what he looked like. Instead, now when he comes back, he looks exactly like he did before the start of the 2013 season. He looks like a guy that's erratic, that makes some questionable decisions, that trusts his legs more than his eyes and his arms. And I said that I was afraid that he would regress coming back from this injury. And it's a shame because I was hoping that I would be wrong, but I have not been. Since he's come back, he's turned the football over, had some picks against St. Louis, turns it over here, and I'll talk about him here in a second. But that pick leads to a field goal. It's 13-0. So now you're really, because as I saw the score unfolding, I said, okay, Jacksonville, they got a touchdown. That's cute. Then they got a field goal to go up 10. I said, oh, okay, maybe it's getting a little dicey in Tennessee, but they're fine. They'll score a touchdown or a field goal, get back in the game, and then they'll take the lead, whatever. Then they get this extra field goal here, and it's 13-0. I'm like, wait a minute, what is Tennessee doing out there? You know, what's going on out there where, A, they don't have any points, and B, Jacksonville is steadily scoring points and adding to this lead. What is going on in Tennessee? So here are the Jacksonville Jaguars being the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bad interception by Henne sets Tennessee up with their first plays, their first possession in Jacksonville territory all game long, and we're late in the second quarter, which is bad for the Tennessee Titans. But a QB running back exchange is fumbled. Locker goes to hand the football off to Chris Johnson. Johnson bobbles the football around, fumbles it. Jags avoid giving up any points, and Locker is injured on the play. I don't even know what happened, but he re-aggravated something. I don't know if it happened on that particular play or if it happened earlier. He tweaked it, and then he just exacerbated the problem on that handoff. Whatever the case may be, he was injured. He did not return to the game, and he might be done. I'm hearing that the Titans are fearing that he might be done for the season. And again, if that is in fact the case, here's another season where you don't get to finish the season with Jake Locker at the quarterback position. You don't really know exactly what you have at quarterback. How long can this continue if you're the Tennessee Titans? Okay, here we are, year number 3. In 2 of the 3 years, he doesn't finish the season off. So you're not getting that experience that he needs. You can't replace game time experience. And he's lacking that because he continues to get injured. And even when you start to see progress, he gets injured, and you don't really get to see him continue to mature as a quarterback. And so he was struggling in this game. And he goes out with an injury, and that'll be the lasting image that you have of him in this season. You won't remember the 3-1 start that you got off to and how well he was playing. If you're a Titans fan, maybe you choose to remember that. But someone like myself that's looking at the team from outside looking in, I'm going to remember how he looked in those final 2 games before he got injured for the season. How he was erratic against St. Louis, and that the running game had to come to the rescue and the defense had to make some critical stops. And that he was turning the football over and he was erratic against Jacksonville and wasn't playing well before he left that game. That's what I'm going to remember, and it's frustrating because you want to see the light bulb come on and stay on for Jake Locker. And it was on before the injury. It went off, and when he came back, nobody was home. The light bulb wasn't on. No one was home. So frustrating if you're a Tennessee Titans fan. Titans force a punt, and then backup Ryan Fitzpatrick comes off the bench and goes 5 for 5, including a TD toss to Taylor Thompson. It's 13-7. And me and my buddy, we always talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he's the definition of a quality backup in the National Football League. If you're going off of the definition of my buddy, because he always says, I want a backup that when they come in the game, something's going to happen. Whether good or bad, something is going to happen. You don't want a status quo backup because a lot of times you don't win games. Unless you got a really good defense and he can just come in and play caretaker and be a babysitter, then you want your backup to come in and make some things happen. A la Josh McCown out in Chicago. You want a guy that's going to come in and jumpstart some things, make something happen. Hey, you might make a mistake here or there, but you're not afraid to take chances. And that's one thing I know Ryan Fitzpatrick is not afraid to do. He's not afraid to take chances. And he came in, he started firing the football. They started getting some quick passes out to Kendall Wright, and they started moving the football down the field, and it results in a Taylor Thompson touchdown. It's 13-7. So now I'm starting to think, okay, they're back in the game. They're going to assume control of this football game and get it done. Not so fast. This is what happens when you instill confidence in a bad football team. 2 personal foul penalties by Bernard Pollard. And remember, when you got him in the offseason, I told you first and foremost in the offseason that you needed to expect a personal foul penalty or 2 during the course of a game from Bernard Pollard. That's just what you get from him. He's an aggressive guy that a lot of times is overly aggressive, and sometimes it's going to cost you. And this one possession, it cost you. 2 personal foul penalties. One of them I didn't really agree with. The one where he jumped and tried to tackle Chad Henne. I didn't agree with that. He was looking to deflect the football. He jumped up in the air. Henne threw the ball, and he hit him with his midsection. I mean, come on, really? The other one, yeah, that was a personal foul penalty. And again, that's what you get from Bernard Pollard. So that leads to a Jordan Todman TD run. And the key plays on that drive, of course, outside of the 2 personal foul penalties, you had them 3rd and 14 right where you want them. You let Maurice Jones-Drew rip off about 15 on 3rd and 14 on a screenplay. And then also you let Mike Brown get loose for about 27. That takes you down to the 6. Jordan Todman walks in the end zone from there So now, instead of this lead still being at 6 and you still having a chance to take the lead with the next possession, now it's 20-7. Whoa! Wait a minute. Are we talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars possibly getting their first win of the season? 20-7 on the road at Tennessee, a team that was really trying to position themselves to make a push for the playoffs? Nah, can't be. Couldn't be. Or maybe. Justin Hunter, with another acrobatic, beautiful catch, leads to a Tennessee field goal. It's 20-10. So the Tennessee Titans aren't getting themselves where they need to be to strike, but they're staying close enough to be relevant in this football game. Alteron Werner. I told these guys, I said it on at least 4 different occasions. Look, stay away, okay, Mr. Werner will hurt you. Do not throw at Alteron Werner. He'll make you pay. It's number 5 on the season for that young man. He's playing some really confident corner over there. And if you make a mistake and he gets his hands on the ball, best believe you don't get that football back if you're an opposing QB. Alteron Werner making things happen. Another pick leads to a field goal. It's 20-13. So now you're in striking distance now. You're right where you need to be to really get yourself in a position to hurt the heads of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you know they're a bad football team. They're 0-8 coming to this game. They're starting to hear footsteps. They're starting to think, oh, man, here we go again. Tough break on the ball down and being down at the 1-yard line. Look, to me, I felt like this was a touchback. I thought that the guy that downed the football had his cleat on the chalk. Again, tough judgment call by the official. You go look at it under the booth. You need clear, concise evidence to overturn it. Not sure if you got it or not, but I thought I saw enough there to say, hey, that foot's on the line. That ball needs to be out at the 20-yard line. Instead, if you're the Tennessee Titans, you feel like that was a tough break. That was a tough break because that should have been at the 20, and the thing that happened after that really affected you in this football game. A holding penalty in the end zone results in the safety for the Jags. They now lead 22-13. So that 19 yards of difference from that ball being down at the 1 and not being overturned and pushed out to the 20-yard line as a touchback was huge because you get a holding penalty in the end zone that yields a safety. It's now a 9-point lead and, more importantly, a 2-possession game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So just when you thought you were getting close enough to strike, you have this happen. Now you're down by 9. Now you need 2 scores instead of 1. So Titans move the ball down the field quickly. Fitzpatrick runs it in from 4 yards, cuts the Jags lead to 22-20. So you're right back where you need to be. And this time, a field goal wins you this football game. So if you're Tennessee, you've done everything you needed to do to put yourself in a position to steal this one. And look, it does not have to be pretty. Last week, I found myself saying over and over again, it wasn't pretty, but you got it done. And if you're the Tennessee Titans, if you squeak away with a 23-22 victory in this game, you'll take it, you'll fuss, and you'll cuss, and you'll make a big scene. But at the end of the day, you'll take it because you know you dodged a bullet. And all that matters is that you keep putting W's in the left-hand column. You keep putting marks in the left-hand column so that at the end, they tally them all up and you've got enough to punch your ticket to the big dance. You lose to a team like this and it comes back to bite you at the end. It haunts you. And so now you're in striking range. Field goal wins it for you. You need a stop. You get the football back. You drive down. You get a field goal. Everybody drives home safely. And you come out with a win that should have probably been a little bit more convincing, but you'll take it any way you can get it. So now you get the football back. You want to try to put something together. And Will Blackman, with the play of the season, not the play of this game, the play of the season up until this point for the Jacksonville Jaguars, as he gets a strip and score of Ryan Fitzpatrick, extends this lead out to 9 with under 2 minutes to go in this game. Essentially, this game is over at this point. 29-20. Huge play. I mean, I always wonder why more guys don't do this. And he didn't do this on purpose. He went to get the ball, but it actually landed in his hand, and he just pulled it in. I want to know why more guys, when the quarterback is unsuspecting that they're behind him, they don't just reach in, take the ball, and run away. I remember Reggie White did that to my Redskins over 2 decades ago. I mean, he just reached in, took the football from the quarterback, and took off for a touchdown. And to me, that's the smart thing to do. I know you want the kill shot on the quarterback, and that looks good, and that shows up. What will also show up is a touchdown on the scoreboard. Okay? And so Will Blackman taking that football away and getting in the end zone, huge for the Jacksonville Jaguars, because that's what they needed at that point in the game. They didn't need to allow this Tennessee Titans team to punt the football to them. And with all your timeouts, I believe they had 2 timeouts because of the challenge that was unsuccessful. With 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning coming up, that's enough to get a stop, get the football back, and still win the game with a field goal. They needed to get this football out of the hands of Ryan Fitzpatrick and get into the end zone like Will Blackman did. It set up a 9-point spread, which essentially puts you back at 2 scores and puts this game away for you. Titans tack on a late touchdown to make it interesting to Delaney Walker, but at this point, no timeouts. You need an onside kick. They don't get it. Jaguars, unbelievably, go into Tennessee and get it done, handle a little bit of family business, and get their first victory of the season, 29-27. Huge win for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but this is more about the Tennessee Titans than it is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a terrible, absolutely horrible, terrible, horrible, very bad, no good loss. And I think I got that all mixed up. I think this is a terrible, this is a horrible, this is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad loss. That's how it goes. You can't lose this game, Tennessee. It's not allowed. And then, to make matters worse, forget about it on just your end. The St. Louis Rams go out and drub the Indianapolis Colts. So this is a 2-for-1 special for you. If you beat the 0-8 Jaguars, you now find yourself 1 game back of these Indianapolis Colts who lead this division. And guess what? Guess who's coming to town? Guess who's coming to dinner next Thursday? You guessed it, the Indianapolis Colts. So if you win, and because of their loss at home to St. Louis, you're 1 game back with a chance to take the lead in the division on Thursday Night Football. What more could you ask for? I know what more you could ask for. A win versus the 0-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. Are you kidding me? And to make matters worse, Jake Locker could be gone for the season. So I don't know what you do now. Now you're 4-5. I'm not listening to you again because you're under 500. So I don't even hear you complaining right now because you're not over 500. You're not at 500. And so you don't even have the prerequisite to even start talking about using the P word anymore. This was so debilitating and so devastating on so many different levels. Your season isn't over by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, and I know it's family business, I know they know you, I do not care. If you can't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, you don't need to go anywhere. And this is a bad omen. This is a really bad sign for Mike Munchak. These are the type of games that get you canned right here. I can actually feel the pink slip being drafted up right now. These are the type of losses that makes GMs and it makes owners and all the front office brass start talking about potentially making something happen. This is as bad as it gets if you're a Tennessee Titans fan. That was a bad loss. Bad loss. Shame on you, Tennessee. Big win for Jacksonville. Let's not rain on their parade. You went out, you took this football game, you made it happen, and I thought you were honestly going to go 0-16 this year. So it's refreshing to see you go out and find a way to get one. I challenge you. Go get another one. I don't know where you're going to get it from, but I think it's going to be in the division once again. Go get another one. Go beat somebody else. Big win for Jacksonville. Devastating. Crushing loss for the Tennessee Titans. That's going to do it for this edition of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me here on the program. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, you know we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Come back and join me as I continue to break down the Week 10 slate in the National Football League.